Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're actually going to be talking about something slightly different. We're going to be talking about a 5-minute scalping strategy for crypto assets. This is a strategy that I'm testing out myself currently, but I thought I would share it with you guys, get your thoughts and opinions on it, and let me know if you have tested this or are looking to test such a strategy out. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And with all that said, done and out of the way, let's go ahead and actually jump down into the desktop and talk about this 5-minute scalping strategy. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is obviously go into TradingView. If you haven't got a TradingView account, you can get one for free. Link is in the description down below. There are some paid options depending on the number of indicators that you want, but a free account works for most people. So if you haven't already got one of these, check out the link in the description below. And if you do use the link in the below, you will obviously be supporting the channel. Okay, let's dive into this. We'll assume that you've already got an account. And in this particular example, we're actually on Polygon's Matic and we're paired up with USDT. This is the 5-minute chart, right? This is where we want to start. So this strategy, it works best when we're on a 5-minute time frame. Okay, so what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do is go over to the indicators tab and we're going to search for the smart money concepts by 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗀𝗀, this one just here. Okay, so we're going to load that into the charts and we're going to end up with a load of different things here. Let's just walk through this, right? And there's a couple of things here that are really important. So we're going to dive into a few of these to start with, right? There's a lot of dash lines on here. We don't need to change any settings. It's kind of already good to go. So the first thing we will need to talk about is this one here. This is a change of structure indication, right? This basically just tells us that we've gone down lower. Okay, this particular candle over this side here broke past this low point. This is a change of character, right? We're looking pretty good. We're moving on up. We had a change of structure here in green, basically looking bullish. And this one here is bearish, right? This is a bearish signal, change of character, a change of direction. So the trend potentially has changed. Okay, that's what that one's telling you. It's an important one, so we have to bear that in mind. And the second that we come back down lower than this break of structure here, we can see that we get another one over this side. We can see this particular candle. This then changes from a change of character to a break of structure. Okay, we're continuing this move to the downside. So just bear that in mind. The change of character is the first indication. Everything after that is a break of structure, and we're continuing to break down. Okay, so you can see this change of character happens up here, and we broke all the way down to this low point. Okay. Now, on this journey, you'll also find that there's a bullish one here. We broke up higher than this local high, and we got a change of character to the upside. We also got a break of structure up here as well. We've come back down. We've got a change of character as we've come back down lower than this low point, and now we've got in the last 5 minutes here a break of structure. Okay, so essentially these things are telling you the macro direction of the market, and you can kind of go through and you can kind of see where all these things are. Okay, so that's kind of the first one. They can also get indicated equal highs, equal lows and stuff like that as well. They can also come up here, and then you get these kind of rectangular boxes, right? You've got blue ones, you've got red ones, and these are basically a couple of things. You can perceive these in many different ways. Fair value gaps, you could look at them as support and resistance, and you can look at these as supply and demand. They're all relatively similar and they are kind of act in a very similar way. So that's kind of where we steer with it, right? So this is the first indicator that you need, okay? So it kind of gives you a lot. You don't have to draw much on the chart. It's kind of already there and gives you a good starting position. The next thing that we need to do is we need to have some filters, okay? So we need to be able to ascertain whether or not we want to take a long position or whether we want to take a short position, okay? And to do that, the first thing that we want to do is come back to the indicators, and what we're going to do is we're going to go EMA, we're going to find the moving average exponential, we're going to put that on the chart, we get this blue line. We're going to come into the settings on the EMA, and we're going to change this into a 200 EMA. Okay, and we're going to come over to the style. We're going to make it white, and I'm going to make it slightly bigger so I can see it a little bit easier. And I'm going to click OK. Perfect. So here we have the 200 EMA. Now, the 200 EMA for most people is a trend indication. It shows you whether you should be bullish or whether you should be bearish, right? So the reason that you'd have this on the chart is to help us make more informed decisions over what we are going to trade. For example, this does repaint, as you just saw here. It removed this particular area, right? So you've got to be aware that this 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪 smart money concept is a great indicator, but it will repaint on you. So do have to watch out a couple of times, okay? And the EMA helps us understand whether or not we want to be bullish or bearish, right? So right now, when we're above the 200 EMA, you really only want to be taking long positions. And when you're below the 200 EMA, you only really want to take short positions. So that's the first kind of filter that we're going to help with this particular strategy. So the next indicator that we need is going to be they call it volume spread by for VRA, right? So if I type in here volume spread for VSA, you can see it right there. We go ahead and click that in, and we end up with this down here. I'm going to actually close off the stochastic RSIs because we don't need that here. So I'm just going to collapse that one. That's the wrong one. I'm going to collapse this one down. There we go, and get rid of that for a second. Okay, so these are the indicators that we need. Okay, so here's 3 different things that are going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk into the strategy and what we're looking for here in terms of making this 5-minute scalping strategy really effective. Okay, so let's talk about the short position. I've gone back in time on Polygon's-matic to give a really good example as to what we're looking for with this particular strategy. Okay, so here we can see that we're kind of wedged up in a bit of a ranging market. We're kind of going between these demand areas down here and the supply areas at the top. We're just kind of trading sideways, and we're really bouncing around our 200 EMA. You can see there's a lot of volume in the market as well, a market that is very much undecided. So as I go through and I play the next candles, we can kind of see that we're getting rejected here from this 200 EMA. So as we kind of play this through, here we get this first change of character indication, okay? So this particular candle could be a really interesting point for us to think about changes that are occurring here. Now, one of the things that we need to be looking out for is a new fair value gap or kind of resistance and supply zone to be appearing up in this area as well. We're also looking for yellow or red volume down the bottom here. With this being green at the moment, this is not ideal for an entry. One more candle and see if we get confirmation. Here we go. So this particular candle is where we would enter. Okay, we've got a couple of things here that are happening. One, we've got the change of character signal from 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. That's looking great. Up here we have our new area of supply coming in, pushing the market down. And at the bottom, we have yellow volume in our indicator. This is the ideal setup for a short position. Okay, so we'd go ahead and put our short position right here. Our stop loss would go above this area just at the top here, and this would basically be our supply zone. So we'll put our stop loss just above that, and we're going to be targeting out risk reward ratio of 1.5. Okay, some people might have higher risk reward ratios in terms of what they're willing for. I'm going to go for 1.5 just to keep this really profitable, but yet manageable at the same time. So as I go ahead and I play these candles in, we can see that we come right down into here. We can see that this is a weak low point that's also indicated, and we have another break of structure down here. So things are looking pretty good at this particular point. As we go down, there we go. We've absolutely nailed the profit. We come down and you can see that we wicked up. So really, really straightforward when you have the right criteria. Now, these are actually quite difficult to find perfect setups, which is why I went all the way back here to pretty much the 1st of November 2022. Now, you don't need many of these really good setups to be profitable if you're using leverage, for example. And on that note, I think it's probably worth noting that we are actually offering our cheeky community some fantastic deals with BitGet and Bybit in the description down below. With BitGet, you get up to $8,000 in bonuses for using their platform. Link is in the description below. By using that link, you are, of course, helping support the channel as well. So why not go ahead and check that out? And if you're looking at Bybit, also, depending on your preferences, they also have some fantastic bonuses up for grabs for the cheeky community as well. So do check those out in the description. Now, when you have high leverage positions and ideal setups like this with really good risk reward ratios, you could start to see some very significant gains in your portfolio. Now, one of the things that we want to kind of talk about in terms of the shorting of the market here is not to get too greedy. Yes, you could have made some additional funds here if you maybe did a trailing stop or something to that effect. These are slightly more complex kind of subjects to talk about, but again, there are other ways that you can kind of take a risk reward ratio and make it work for you. For example, you can kind of trail this down. As you hit the 1.5, maybe you put it to neutral at entry point. Then maybe if it comes down a little bit lower, then you kind of move that stop loss ever so slightly and you keep laddering it in. Okay, but the idea here is not to get too greedy. That's usually how things end up really, really bad. So if you're going to use leverage and things like that and you're not familiar with it, it's high risk. I think it's worth noting that it is incredibly high risk. It multiplies your gains but multiplies your losses at the same time. So if you're going to do anything with leverage, do some research on it first. Do not just go full degen into that. And also just bear in mind, if you're going to start out, there are some fantastic benefits you get with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 here. You can actually come over to their futures and there is a demo trading area. So you can sign up, you can actually practice the strategy using the demo area and, you know, risk no funds whatsoever. So you can get used to the ideas of how these things work before you actually do it with real money. And of course, you know, do your back testing as well. Like I said, I'm only just started to look at this strategy. And so there's a lot of things that even I am still looking at. And the ideal setups are fantastic, and it's almost better to wait for the ideal setup than it is to kind of just go full degen and just every single one you see, go for it, because you are going to find that there's a win-loss ratio. It's not going to be 100%. So you do have to take some L's at times and do take the wins when you get them. So giving good risk management, having good risk reward ratios are absolutely critical to a strategy like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on into understanding the long variation of this particular strategy. Okay, so let's talk about the setup for a long position. Here we have 𝗕𝗪𝗃 in this kind of upward trend. We're above the 200 EMA here. We can see that we also touched on this previous area of demand at the bottom, and we're moving up, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to move ahead a couple of candles here. We do want to be a little bit cautious in this kind of setup though, just to bear in mind that we have got these red areas here. This would be supply trying to push the price down. So there does seem to be a fair amount stacked here. So we'll be a little bit cautious, but what we'll do is we'll watch for a change of character and we'll see how things progress. So as we kind of move into this, we can see there's a bit of red, then we continue. We have this big move to the upside. Now this move to the upside gives us a clear glimpse into this area of resistance. We can see that we would have hit a lot of selling pressure within here, but we are actually wicking slightly higher. So this would give me a little bit of room for encouragement to think that this is an area that we might be able to actually break our way through it. So as we kind of continue here, there we go. We can see that we've got a change of character. We hit this additional area, we wicked into it, and we have a change of character. Now we have also got this area down at the bottom here, which is our new fair value gap or supply and demand resistance and support area. Okay, so this blue one just here. And we also have some increase, a dramatic increase in volume. So this is actually a really good area to be thinking about. I'll be a little bit cautious around this area here, but I probably would want to take this trade. Okay, so I'd go in with my long position. I'll take a look at it here. I'll put my stop loss down at this low point, just below this recent local low, or swing low as they call it. And we'll be looking for a risk to reward ratio of 1.5. Okay, so this will actually be a pretty profitable trade, specifically if we're using leverage on 𝗕𝗃𝗪𝗃 or Bybit, for example. So I come across here, we would have activated it at this particular point. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play this through and see if we can break this area of resistance, right? So as we kind of progress in here, we have a little bit of downward move, but we're still pushing right back up into that area of resistance. So a little bit of volatility and bam, there we go. We have a really strong high point. We have a big change of character here as well. So this is a really good point. We could also look at this if we weren't sure about this entry down here. We could have also have waited for this break of structure. This would be a really strong indication of things to come. We entered a little bit sooner down here, but you could have also have waited for this confirmation of this one. We are progressing quite nicely. Let's go ahead and move on to the next candle, and bam, we've taken profit. So straight off the bat here, we can see that this was a nice, quick, easy 5-minute scalp. A little bit of risk associated with the initial entry that we had down here, but if we had actually waited, we can go ahead and just do an entry on that as well. So if we'd waited for this confirmation, we would have entered in on here. Our stop loss still would have been down here, which means our risk reward ratio would still be 1.5. We'd have to go up significantly higher. So let's go ahead and play a few additional candles and see where they go. We're still moving up. It's a weak high at this point though. We're still progressing. Let's see how we go. Okay, we're breaking through. Things are moving quite nicely here. Let's go ahead and just add a few more in and see. We're progressing really, really well for this. So even if we had waited, there you go, we would have hit profit at that particular point right there. Okay, so essentially we have two options with this, right? We could have taken the slightly riskier earlier entry, which is where I went in, or we could have waited for that confirmation. But you can kind of see that we're above the 200 EMA. We've got really good volume coming in, and we had the change of character. This is an ideal setup for this particular type of trading strategy. Okay, so at this point, I want to talk about some weak signals that we want to ignore. And this is why we have the volume analysis at the bottom here. Okay, so let's actually go pay attention to this particular area here, right? We had a change of character here, and we may have wanted to have gone short, except our volume indicator is not giving us the right signal. It's not yellow, and it is not red at this particular point. So therefore, we would not have wanted to have entered into that one. Okay, we can also see up here, we also had a change of character at this point here. Now, this would have been yellow. Okay, so this would have been an ideal point to think maybe we could enter into a trade. And at that point, we would also know that, we'd be looking for our stop loss to kind of be below the swing low, which would have been around here. And we'll be looking for that 1.5. Now, we can see quite clearly that this broke down and failed to actually play out. This is an indication of a couple of things. One, all of these algorithmic indicators, they don't always play out, right? You cannot expect a 100% win rate. Even when you have good setups like this, there's only so much that you can filter out. So at some point, you are going to have to take some L's. That's okay. The idea here is that we win more than we lose, and we grow an account over time. Okay, so just wanted to be aware of that. I wanted to kind of show you these kind of setups in here. There's also a couple over this side as well. We have a change of character here. And if we had gone into this one, let me go ahead and grab my long position here. Okay, we would have entered in here on this yellow volume. Okay, so we would have entered right about here, and we would have pulled this stop loss down to this low point, and our win risk reward ratio would be 1 to 1.5, and we pull this across. You can see that it doesn't get hit for a very, very long period of time. It does eventually get there, but we are in this trade for a very long period of time. This is also something that you can experience within this space and with this particular strategy. You can see that we stayed in profit pretty much for the majority of it, but we had better entries over this side as well. And so sometimes it's good to kind of have patience. Let these things run their course. Do not chop and change. Do not kind of go in and then move your stop loss and move your entry or move your TPs and stuff like that. Like, have a strategy and stick to the strategy. That's kind of the big takeaway that I've had from this when I've been experimenting around with it. So I did want to kind of go through a couple of less than ideal setups, some that don't play out, such as the one that's over on this side here, and the ones that take a long time to actually play out, right? The time period on that would have been, let me find where we entered. We would have entered, where was it? It was going to be around here, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, it was this particular candle. So we entered here. We didn't actually reach take profit until up here. So it would have taken 10 hours to play out, right? Which, for some might be okay. So have a plan, stick to it, and execute it. Not all trades will be winners, obviously, but you do look for the most ideal setups where possible. No trade, it isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes no trade is a good trade, right? Sometimes it's good not to be in the market and wait for the ideal setups to present themselves. And once you actually have those are the ones that are incredibly profitable. At the end of the day, it's about making profit. It's about making as much money as you can on your account. You're not always going to win. Sometimes you're going to lose, but making sure that you win more than you lose is going to be absolutely critical in how this particular strategy plays out. So make sure that you pick and choose the ones that work for you. Make sure that you're using these filters to their advantage. If you haven't got yellow or red volume, then don't bother actually entering into a trade. Make sure that if you're going long, you're above the 200 EMA, and if you're going short, make sure you're below the 200 EMA. Make sure that things are stacked in your favor, and I think this strategy should hopefully pay dividends. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video, slightly different than normal. If you have, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you are looking at maybe trying this strategy out, I do urge you guys to practice it before actually using real funds on it. If you are looking to support the channel, why not sign up to BitGet or Bybit in the description down below. Really does help support us and everything that we're doing here at Cheeky Crypto. And with all that said, don't forget to join us down in Discord as well. Links in the description. Guys, until the next one, have a fantastic day.